Well, thank all you guys for being here. This is a full house. Thank you all so much. Our guest today on The Strategerist is Dana Perino. She is the longtime anchor on Fox News. And before that was President Bush's press secretary. And she is a great friend of the Bush Center. She's been on this show before. Dana, thank you for coming back again here today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we've got a live audience here, and we are here to talk about Purple State.
Aren't you excited?
I am thrilled. I wore my purple pants for
Were you so excited you had to read a romantic comedy?
I love romance. I love comedy. What's
there you
not
go.
to love?
Honestly, it's a good mashup. It's like Reese's peanut butter cups.
It's the perfect mix. And maybe we'll even mix in a little politics into there.
Perfect.
So tell us about Purple State in your words.
Oh, thank you. So Purple State is about 3 young women. They live in Manhattan. And they're 25 years old. Hi, Ed. This is a live recording, so I'm seeing my friends in the audience.
Hey, Ed. Good to see
Ed.
you.
And so they're 3 young women. They're 25 years old, and they're going through their quarter-life crisis, which I went through, and mine was horrendous. I've written about it. I should say horrendous makes it sound like so bad. But, when you're going through it, it is bad. And for those of you who either went through it or have daughters, granddaughters, nieces, sisters who have felt like, wow, nothing I planned is working out. And I thought I was going to be here in my life, and I'm not, and I don't see the path to get there. And did I choose the wrong career? Have I chosen the wrong guide? Am I living in the wrong city? And so these 3 girls are kind of going through that, but they have a tight relationship. They're friends, and they're fun. And I love all these young women that live in New York. They crack me up. They're so inspiring. They work very hard, and they're funny. And so I created these 3 characters, but one of them, Dot Clark, she's the one on the cover. She is working in high-tech PR, but wishes she had gone into politics. And so she's looking around, and there's an opportunity for her to go and work in Wisconsin, the ultimate purple state. And she goes, she convinces her 2 friends to come with her, and they're only going to go for 1 year because they love New York. They're never leaving Manhattan. No one's ever taking them out of that place. And they go to Wisconsin, to a town I call Cedar Falls. But if anybody's familiar with Cedarburg, Wisconsin, that's the town that I base it on. And they get there, they start to get to know the community, and then they meet these 3 guys. And they're not Democrats. And it's like a new species. And they have a good time, but the clock is ticking. They're going back to New York. And so in the end, they have to make some pretty tough choices.
So the question always comes up in the classics. J.R.R. Tolkien wasn't Frodo, he was Sam. Is Dana in this book?
I never took a creative writing class. I've read a ton of fiction my entire life, and I love it. I admire the craft so much. So you've probably heard the phrase "write what you know," and so there are some things in there. Like I did work in high-tech PR. I really hated it, and actually for this audience. In 2000, I was working in San Diego, high-tech PR. This is right at the height of the bubble. The bubble's getting bigger for the tech companies, and right before the bust. And I got a call from Mindy Tucker. For those in the room, Mr. Secretary, you'll remember Mindy Tucker. And she said, would you be able to volunteer on the Bush campaign and be a spokesperson for us out in California? We are not under any illusions that we're going to win in California, but would you be able? And I was young in my marriage, and I was the only one that had a job with benefits at the time because Peter was creating a startup. And I declined. I had to. And I hung up the phone, and I cried. And my office mate said, what's wrong? And I said, well, now I'll never get to work for George Bush.
and fast forward.
Yeah. So I ended up coming back to Washington, D.C. after the 9/11 attacks, and I worked at the Justice Department. So, yes, is there parts of me in here? Yes. So Dot takes an opportunity, takes a chance. It's a flyer. She's going to go and just see if she wants to do politics and if she's good at it. And then she just starts asking herself, well, where would I live? Can you do politics from New York? I'm never leaving New York. So she's really in a personal struggle. Truly, though, I'm writing about 25-year-olds in the modern day. I'm not that. And I don't understand the dating scene as much, but I listen to it. And for those of you who know my assistant, Kate DePietro, she's here over there in the pink. And if you if you've read Purple State, or when you do, any bad date was hers.
Kate, would you like to come up and comment on that?
Yeah, so I, we have some of the most precious time that Kate and I have, because I do a morning show, is from 7:15 to 8 every day. And there's a little more people there than we like now. It used to be, there didn't used to be as many people there in the morning. And we have the whole 21st floor to ourselves. And I'm like, so what'd you do last night? And then I find out, all of these things. There's a special fun twist in here that I came up with to introduce a presidential candidate to America in the modern age, and it has to do with the dating profile. And I had to get on Hinge. Well, I had to get on Kate's Hinge to understand what was going on.
And so when I first sat down, I started writing this question. I started to make a joke about, well, this is your first foray into fiction, unless we talk about the time at the podium. But in all seriousness, taking the snark out of that, and it becomes wait a second. Was it difficult for you to leave that mode of telling the country important information and going into fiction?
It was totally different. Yeah. So this is my fifth book. I did 4 nonfictions before. And that's where you're writing what you know, and you're writing in fact-based things, or you're writing advice. And so there's some, if you write like Brett Baer, right? He writes history. Mm-hmm. So that's an endless supply of topics. I didn't feel like I had anything more to say on the mentoring side of things. And I got to see President Bush yesterday, and he was talking about the chapter of his life where he started to learn to paint, and that creative outlet that it gave him. And I would say this gave the same to me. So yes, it was not hard. It was a joyous endeavor. It was a challenge. And I also have 2 shows a day on opposite ends of the day. So when was I going to do it? I would take notes through the week. And then on Friday afternoon, I would organize the notes. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I wrote from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so we knocked it out in 18 months.
So that's a process as a writer. Was that process different than your process when you were writing the nonfiction books beforehand?
A little bit, because I need to write in silence, and I need time and quiet. So the weekends was really when I would have time to do that. I can understand and admire the craft of writing fiction so much. I mean, I understand why people do it full time, and I'm not pretending that this book is going to win the Pulitzer Prize, but I love how it turned out. I love the feedback that I'm getting from people saying they read it in a day. If you read Everything Will Be Okay, which was the mentoring advice for young women, there's a lot of hiding of the vegetables inside the mac and cheese in this book. So there's a lot of lessons that can be learned in here. And I'll give you one that's a good example, and that is... one from President Bush. When Dot decides to take this chance to go to Wisconsin, she asks herself, through a friend, what's the worst thing that could happen to you if you take a chance, if you take a risk? And President Bush asked me that question when we left the White House, and I joined a PR firm. And I was like, as I was signing the contract, I was like, I'm going to hate this. It's not right. It's not for me. But I felt like I needed to do it to land somewhere. And 6 months later, I was here. And I walked in, and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, I don't know how he could tell, but he could tell. He loves to mentor. And he said, so what's the worst that could happen if you start your own business? And I had all this, they were kind of lame things, but they were on my mind. And he said, yeah, I'm not at all persuaded by that. You're telling me the worst thing that could happen to you is that you have to go back and work for a PR firm? I'm like, you were the White House press secretary. What are you thinking? And he gave me that push. And so that's what I try to do in here. But another lesson that I really liked is I believe right now in our world, in our politics, maybe partly because of the phones, listening is an undervalued skill. And it's certainly something that is keeping you from connecting with other humans. And if you always want to be right, you will interrupt the person all the time. So when Dot gets to Wisconsin, they have an opportunity to go to a dinner at a family farm. And she asked the farmer, why did farmers used to vote for Democrats and now they mostly only vote for Republicans? What happened? And he starts to explain. and she wants to argue a point with him. And she goes to interrupt him, but she is polite, and she sits on her hands, and she thinks, maybe I should listen. And again, it's like a small little nugget, but I try to put them in there as little mentoring advices.
You know, that kind of brings us a little bit to what the Bush Institute is really passionate about, which is that when we disagree on issues, that we can still, you know, we might disagree, but that doesn't mean we're enemies. It just means we disagree on an issue. You and I might feel differently on the war in Iran. We might not. But at the end of the day, we're both Americans who want what is best for the country. And we feel passionately that we need to find, there's nothing more heartbreaking than hearing stories of people like, well, I didn't really want to invite my mom to dinner because she's, you know, she gets too into politics, and it's breaking families up. And can you talk some about how that appears in your book?
Sure. So ever since I went to New York, I tell people I don't talk politics at the dog park. Okay. And I don't talk politics on the weekends, which means that I only talk about politics at Fox with my colleagues and when I'm on air. Other than that, I don't do it. I don't really engage with it online anymore. That's really since probably 2016. And I encourage people through the book to wear your politics lightly. One of the girls, Mary, she's from Staten Island, and she's the only Democrat in her family. And she's the youngest of 5 and the only girl. And so she's adored and she's precious, but her dad will tease her about politics, but the mom will protect her. But it's fun. I'm just like, keep it light, guys. And also, through the guys' perspective, what I try to do is have them not try to change their minds, but to enjoy their company. And hopefully, there's a little bit of a lesson in there. What's interesting is this is the 4th week of a book tour. This is kind of at the end of this week will be the end. What I've found is that in talking to audiences, there is a hunger for this. And when I started writing the book, I wanted to show people, if you get off your social media, you will have wonderful connections with people from all walks of life. And I don't care what their politics are. And yes, actually, there was only one woman yesterday. She said, well, I started reading this and it's about Democrats. And she's really mad. And she's already purchased. And I said, well, yes, but there are other. And I tried to explain to her, and she is really mad. And I said, well, this book might not be for you.
Right. Might not be a good fit.
And that's okay. Feel free to give it away to somebody. If she really wanted to argue with me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not arguing about this. I'm not. And some of it is a way to protect myself, but it's also a way for me to keep connections to other people.
The screen thing is fascinating. I wasn't expecting to talk about this today, but that is such an element of our society today, and it is where with algorithms you tend to get what you agree with. I would bet that the lady that you were talking to, her feed is mostly people criticizing Democrats,
and Republicans,
exactly. So how do we connect better with each other, do you think?
Well, there's some hope, I believe, really in younger people. They're tired of it. There's a nostalgia for the 90s. They want to play Operation. Yeah. They don't know what it's like to not have your entire life scheduled. Or imagine your parents can track your whereabouts all the time. My parents had no idea where I was.
Same here, and it was
They
better
didn't know I had a chemistry test. They didn't know anything about where I was. And I think I turned out okay. So there's, I've been reading a lot about these trends. Like parents of younger children now are sort of like the opposite of helicopter parents. And I read about one. I was like, okay, ma'am, you might want to re-engage. And the younger people don't want to do it. I actually think the more destructive online situation is for our retired baby boomers who are online entirely too much. And it's very isolating. It can be very lonely. It gives you a warped sense of what's going on. Conspiracy theories just spread like wildfire through this group. And it's not just older people, but I do think, I'm like, wow, you worked your whole life. And instead of enjoying this time with other human beings or your grandchildren or a hobby, you're on your phone scrolling. I chided my mom a little bit. She came to our book party in Wisconsin, and somehow I brought up Punch the Monkey. Anybody follow Punch the Monkey? He's a little internet sensation monkey.
Okay, I don't
and
know
now
about
because
this.
I've said it out loud and your phone's heard it, you will be you're going to be flooded with Punch the Monkey content. So I mentioned it, and my mom goes, "I love Punch the Monkey, and Punch is so cute." And she said, "I love it when he takes that little washcloth and he's washing his face." And I said, "Mom, that's AI. That's not Punch the Monkey doesn't wash his face with a washcloth." And it's we're just at this really interesting time, and I also think that these conspiracy theories, when they spread like wildfire, but also they're started by some people who are just bad actors, or they just like to, as Peter, my husband's British, he says, put the cat amongst the pigeons. And yesterday I read a statistic. I was on Will Kane's show on Monday. It was something like 28% of people legitimately believe that the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania was fake. And staged by Trump himself. I'm like, guys, this, and it's a strange thing to anywhere we go now. Brian Kilmeade talked about this recently. He can spend an entire day and dinner with friends just knocking down conspiracy theories. And it's a troubling situation. There's nothing like that here. In Purple State, it is light on the politics, but it's more encouraging of the romance, but also in choosing love and not thinking that that's going to hurt your career.
Is it just one last thought on that thread? My algorithm, and it could just be my algorithm, is showing me a lot of George W. Bush nostalgia. And his
Kate shows me these things like dancing in Africa.
Dancing in Africa
what is it? Watch This Drive.
And even there's one from 2011 where he was reflecting on some of the things that could start to divide us as a country that we've seen. How can you reflect some on that and what you're observing with that?
Again, I think. Well, did anybody here watch Love Story? The JFK Jr. story. So I didn't even know it was happening, except for all the young women at Fox were watching it, and they were asking about it, and they were looking at life in New York City in the 90s when you had to find a payphone. Like what is a payphone? And technology changed so quickly and so rapidly that it got there. But then she would show me she's like, Gen Z loves President Bush, and for me as a press secretary, I'm like, tell me more. Because it's not easy, and you never know what your legacy will be like. And he tells the funny story about trending after giving Michelle Obama the Altoid. I see that Africa dancing videos. They love that. It's funny when she's like, "Oh my gosh, all the kids love this Watch This Drive video," and I have to say, that video gave the press office no end of heartburn. Because Michael Moore took it and ran with it in the wrong direction. And so I love that. And I remember asking President Bush on our way to interviews towards the end, I would say, okay, they're going to ask you what you want your legacy to be. And he would say, well, last year in 2008, I read 5 books about George Washington. And if historians are still analyzing the first George W., then the 43rd president doesn't have to worry about it because he'll never know.
Right.
And I think there is a little bit of a longing for that, and a little bit more also on service, right? That there is a willingness to there's a willingness to serve in that younger group, but also this is a great opportunity. America 250 is exciting for a lot of people, and just think if let's say you're a much younger child today, and do you remember the 1776 quarter? I was 4 years old. If I found one of those, that was a big deal. And I love that time. And I'm not a child, but I hope that all of this content that is being created about America 250 is awe-inspiring to them. And in the same year, they're watching these amazing, wonderful, very kind astronauts who are continuing this frontier and this exploration. And so it's a wonderful time to be an American and to sort of just reset those values and priorities.
I was born a little after 1976, but one of my prized possessions as a kid was a 1976 reissue of like a Statue of Liberty statue, and those things stick with you. I still have it. It still means a lot to me, and even I was born a few years after that, and so I hope we see that again here.
I feel it. I mean, there's a lot of merchandise.
We've got some in our gift shop.
Yes, I'm going to stop by before we go.
So as an English major, I have to ask, we were always taught that location is a character in and of itself. You mentioned Wisconsin briefly, but there's also this element of city versus country in the book. Can you reflect on that?
Sure. So maybe people in this room will know, but maybe my readers don't necessarily, that I was born in Evanston, Wyoming. My family still ranches in Newcastle, Wyoming, and the sanctity and protection of the family farm is really important to me, and it's something that Fox News, that all the producers know, that I'm going to want to talk about it. And so, yes, I have a subplot in here about a family farm that's under stress and under pressure to sell to a foreign company, but that the governor, who's a Republican, he and the president, like, they're on board, like they want to do that. Well, that actually happened in Wisconsin in 2019. There was a big push for some foreign investment, and there were going to be all these jobs, and farmers didn't want to sell, but they were under pressure. Their kids didn't necessarily want to take over the farm, and they sold. And then a couple of the farms were taken by eminent domain. And then this factory is built, COVID happened, and they never built a single LED screen at this place. But the farms are gone. And so one of the subplots is that this hotshot corporate lawyer from Staten Island, she likes the farmer very much, and she thinks this doesn't sound right. And so she endeavors to try to help him save the family farm. I also feel like, having lived in New York City for so long, and then I lived in San Diego, I grew up in flyover country, but I've lived my life on the coast. And I've gone to so many meetings where people from the coast think that they're going to help solve everything for middle America, both from an socioeconomic standpoint and even financially. And then they'll come and have a meeting in Jackson Hole, and then they'll go home and never think about it again. I'm like, that's really not, Jackson Hole is not representative of rural America. So I wanted to show here that, well, originally when I thought about doing the book, it was more an idea of possibly a reality TV show. Like, could I take my friends and family in Wyoming and switch them out with some friends and family in Manhattan, and say,
I'd watch this.
Say you have 3 months, knock yourselves out, and just see how it goes. So I really loved trying to say, get out of your comfort zone, get out of your city, get out of your comfortable ranch, and go. Not that ranches are comfortable, believe me. My family's ranch is not Yellowstone. But to get out of your comfort zone and to see each other as Americans and humans rather than Democrats or Republicans.
So we've had you on before, and your previous books they're really portraits of optimism. You're a very optimistic person, and that's honestly what I love most about you. Can you give us just a dose of optimism here in 2026? As there are a lot of challenges, there's a lot of stressful things on TV and in our lives. Like, what's your optimistic message for the day?
Well, I did have a chance to see 43 yesterday, and I guess I'm very reflective right now about America 250 and how the founding fathers were so brilliant, and they gave us this idea of a country where you have to be a participant, but if you are a participant, you get all the benefits. And it could be freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom of religion, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness is on us. That's not, you don't get to, it's not like, here's all your happiness, but you get the opportunity to pursue. And as 43 used to say, if you were born in America, you won life's great lottery. And I certainly did. I know all of us here did. But I also know that I wouldn't be sitting here talking about a romantic comedy called Purple State if it hadn't been for George W. Bush, who gave me this great opportunity to introduce myself to the world.
I love it. Well, and so the staff of the Bush Center pressured me to do this, and so I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I've been told about fit checks, and
are you going to do one?
I'm being told I have to. So how does this work? Walk me through the process.
Well, first we have to get Kate.
Okay, Kate.
Okay, are you coming? This is Kate's thing.
Yeah, that's
If
what
we
I hear.
stand up, are the cameras going to catch it? So Kate was in. Kate's first day on the job was the Bush-Trump debate. Biden. Oh, Biden-Trump. Sorry, Biden.
Wow, that would have been quite a debate.
Hell, I want that debate.
I'd pay money for that.
Biden-Trump debate, and then it was hysterical because then we had a crazy 3 weeks. She came to Wisconsin with me. That's how we did this. But we were just killing time. She said, "Here, Dana, do this thing with me." I'm like, "I don't even know what this is." Here, Kate's gonna get in the middle, and I know you said you don't know what you're doing, but she'll tell you. You're gonna
catch on.
Yeah, she said
got
just
it.
follow along. You'll catch
It's a
on.
great fit.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
Great. Okay, here we go.
Hi, guys. This is so spontaneous. So fit check. Who knows what a fit check is? Okay. All right.
Wow, you're in for an
Here
education.
we go. Well, this lovely dress I'm wearing is actually, we call them DP Originals because Dana gives me her clothes when she's done with them. Such a great perk. So I actually don't know where this is from.
I think Millie.
It's so cute,
I think
right?
so. Yes.
And then I have Amazon heels on that are $30, and I've worn them for 2 years straight, and they're clean, which we love. Yeah, very comfortable. I can wear them for 14 hours a day. And then I have these earrings too that are yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are Kate Spade.
Kate Spade. Okay, Dana,
Okay,
your
I'll
turn.
go. I have the Cozy Island shoes. I always say, if you know, you know. Sink Acept is the dress, and Carolina Herrera earrings, actually. Okay, go for
Big
it.
moment.
Okay, so I have Air Force One shoes on because they give me about an inch of height, which I need.
Yes.
We've got purple Page pants. I don't want to call them jeans, but I think they're technically jeans, but I'm not supposed to wear jeans, so don't tell anybody. And this is a Peter Millar jacket.
Very nice.
And this is a shirt.
It's a shirt.
Yeah, it's a
Very
shirt.
good. What about the watch?
The watch is an Apple Ultra 2.
Very nice.
Yeah. And the belt is a belt.
That's about.
Yeah, I got it.
Well done.
All right.
Well done.
That was awesome.
Thanks,
thank you,
Kate.
Thank you.
Well, and thanks all to Kate and Dana Perino. Really appreciate the time you spent here. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the Bush Center. If y'all could just hang tight for just a second so we can get Dana set up here at the table. We'll get everybody lined up, and we'll sign some books, and we'll go from there. So everybody, thank y'all so much.
Thank
Dana,
you so much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.